We're gonna take a couple of breaks. We're gonna try to go according to the rubber show that I sent to y'all. But we're gonna need a couple of breaks. But we don't really have any real breaks because hey y'all, if you're listening in right now, you are tuned in. Please post, share, let folks know that we are live and ready to have this conversation. You see, we have a full house and you are going to be mesmerized by the information that comes across today. So please tag and share, post and share. We're looking forward to begin the conversation soon. Well, you can't be working on me now. I saw my mouth when I was holding it. I was like, oh, just Good afternoon, Tallahassee. If you are tuned into the sound of my voice, this is the Greg James Community Show. You are tuned into the Check. That is the Conscious Check with Christy Henry. This show deals with economic development, community investment, and community love. And I think today you're going to get all of that, all in one fell swoop. We are so excited to have you all tune in. If you're listening to my voice, I am not Greg James. This is Christy Henry, all right? But we definitely are bless God for Pastor James and the ministry of the Greg James Community Show. And we look forward to the conversation with the leaders on the forefront of community change and catalytic change in our community today. Joining me is my esteemed co-host and everybody's favorite, what you want to call it, everybody's favorite comedian. He don't want me to call him by his government name, so I just say, welcome, little man, to the house today.
Well, thank you. Hot fish in the building.
Hot fish.
Yes,
You better watch out. You'll slip and slide on that.
It's too hot to be fried fish.
Sir, it's ridiculous.
300 degrees.
It's 300. It feels like a frying pan right now, though.
That plus hot grease and grits.
It's too hot. Listen, tomorrow they're gonna have some hot grease and fish over at the fairgrounds. They're gonna be giving away free fish to the whole community. Commissioner Proctor, shout out to Commissioner Proctor and all Daryl Jones and everybody that's gonna be there. Commissioner Richardson and a lot of our leaders here in the local community are gonna be hosting the community kickoff for FAMU football.
What time does that start?
I think it started like 5:30.
Morning?
No, nobody eat no hot fish in the morning.
I know you are. The question is what kind of fish they gonna have. I'm gonna say money. What you say, sir?
You think
catfish? It ain't what I eat. It's what they're serving. You're talking about hundreds of people.
Hundreds. There will be hundreds of people there.
I'm saying you say they're gonna have.
I don't know the name of this fish, but I think it's called sway.
Sway. Yes.
Yeah. That's catfish cousin.
Oh,
that's what I think. There's
Jack cousin.
No. That's catfish cousin. First cousin.
You done messed up swai for me because I don't like those white fish.
You said mother.
Well, listen, whatever it is, they're gonna have it fried, dyed, and laid to the side, ready for the community tomorrow to come pick up between I think 5:30.
Oh, it's a drive-by.
Oh no, it's a pep rally. It's a big old pep rally over at North Florida Fairgrounds. If y'all don't know what North Florida Fairgrounds is, it's off of South Monroe. So not mid Monroe, not North Monroe.
That's for the FAMU
kickoff. That's for the FAMU season kickoff, hosted every year by Commissioner Bill Proctor. This year he has a number of esteemed friends and guests that are gonna join him to host the event. So we're looking forward to that community kickoff.
Well, you guarantee people that don't go to FAMU like FAMU, they get something.
Oh, listen. You gotta get it. You gotta get it where you can. You gotta get it where you can. Well, call people. Let people know. You know how we do on the community. We gotta let people know what's out there. So that's happening. We have a number of back to school efforts that have been we do back to school like it's our national holiday here in Tallahassee.
These parents are ready. They are ready. Kids to get back to school.
Oh, damn. I know I was ready.
The supplies is crazy.
Yes.
You spend $300-400 on supplies.
Yes.
I don't think my parents spent that much my whole year in school.
Well, back then you ain't have to spend that much because you got a trapper keeper. You had the chocolate and everything was in the Trapper Keeper. But paper. All you had to do was put paper in there. Yes, sir. Yeah. Generation. Who out there in the virtual space? If you're a Trapper Keeper baby, go ahead and raise your hand and let us see you. That's Gen X for real right there.
I was a backpack.
It just wasn't the kind we got now. We had satchels. We have backpacks. Now backpacks cost like $80, $100. I think in my generation, we carried JanSport. Those were about like $20, $25, $30. I was expensive back then. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes, you did. Y'all carried JanSport. If you was born in the 70s, the latter part of the 70s, 80s, if you was in school in the upper late 80s and the 90s, you carried JanSport.
I had a binder.
Or you had the off-brand.
That could be true now.
I'm just saying. All of them tote the same. They tote the same. Gravity. So yes, it is expensive. It is expensive, but our community comes through for back to school. I know there are a lot of people doing haircuts. There are a lot of people giving away clothes. There are a lot of people, and people they overlook shoes. Oh, shoes! Shout out for shoes for school. Listen, you got a whole new pair. Gangster people used to be about shoes in school. Oh my goodness, they was
pass me down.
These sure don't know. They don't know what it means to be called saying that you wear some bobos to school. Like they don't understand the psychological. What it
know? Ace Hardware used to carry Chuck Taylors.
Show enough.
Yeah, hanging up on the strings. Chuck Taylor's Ace Hardware back in the 70s.
Back in the day.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Jellies.
Yes, sir. Jelly shoes. Yes, sir.
See through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See,
you got people
take your foot on and you be dirty in the spot there.
Yeah.
You see a whole shoe print
Yeah.
from the dirt.
We've come a long way. But
way.
jellies are back. Generational win all the stuff they were before. Like the bell bottoms and shoes, pants, shoes.
You know, dirty toes, they transcend from generation to generation. But our community came through for a lot of the kids in our community. They got backpacks, they got hairstyles, they got brand new shoes. Like the shoes you would take your mama to the store and ask her for brand new shoes. And I'm so glad we have two visionary educators here because they can talk about what it looks like, on the child level at school when they don't have clean clothes and when they don't have a fresh change of underwear, and the things that happen and the things they have to mitigate, quite frankly, as administrators. So we have a lot going on, but our community does come together in those 2 weeks prior to school and try to make sure that these babies at least have a fresh start, be fresh to get back into school. And so shout out to all the organizations and churches and people and professional shops and barber shops and beauty shops. Everybody was in on back to school this year. And I believe that a lot of children, I think Shoes for School gave out over
7,000.
Where you even put 7,000 pills?
7,000
in a box.
That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
that's
what do you even put 7,000 pair of shoes
on these kids' feet?
I'm just saying before they you got to store them somewhere. They had to rent out the whole thing and make the Jimmy Center into a whole shoe store. And so it's crazy, but that's the level that we have on community. I think that this show, you have to balance the good with the stuff, but we have some excellent folks in this community. I see y'all posted. Who is that? I see y'all posted. We're gonna acknowledge some of these comments when we get back from the conversation. But if you're a JanSport baby, go ahead and throw them up. If you had you some bobos in school, go ahead. Or hot bottoms, whatever they call them. If you had the Lucci, not the Gucci, go ahead and throw them up. Look,
if you were just flying, to throw
your hands up, y'all. One time for back to school. So today's show is gonna be dealing with school. I am gonna be shameless. I just want to give a disclaimer here. I am going to be shamelessly biased today, all right? Because we're talking about my side of town. We talking about the South Side. We talking about this place that's in my heart. It's in my soul.
On the
On the other side of the tracks. We talking about the other side of the tracks. And you gotta be in your 40s, 50s to really understand the narrative we throwing out here today. Right? You gotta be in real estate to understand how people told me they didn't want to live on the South Side because the schools were bad. They didn't want to live on the South Side because they didn't have good schools on the South Side. And so to have this conversation to me brings chills brings me literal chills, because we're looking at least 20 years of my active engagement in advocacy, hearing all of the negative, all of the narrative, and now sitting here with two visionary administrators who can boast of schools that are performing on unprecedented levels. And you know a little something about NIMS, and you know a little something about Pineview and the schools, the Bond School, and all those historic legacy schools in the South Side community. And the mindset that people have, quite frankly, about the schools, the people that go to the schools, the last resort mindset they feel like you have, like you ain't got no other choice if you go there. And then now see things turning around. We always knew it was valuable. We always knew it was valuable. But now to see visionary leadership in action, curating and cultivating and manifesting the value from these schools and these students. I mean, what that make? I know I could keep. What that make you? How that make you feel?
We don't have no doubt, and didn't have any doubt that the children
right
could do it.
Okay.
But when you add that the children can do it, and you add people like the ones we have here today, and you add that together, what it equals to?
Yeah,
it equals to them achieving what you guys have achieved. That's what it equals to.
Equals achievement.
And we also need a community. We need the community. We have to have the community. It starts at home. How does your child feel when they leave home? Ain't nothing. Well, you can eat the lunch at school. Everything starts at home. It starts at home.
Wow. So we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to bring back our esteemed guest today. If you're listening in right now, you are tuned into the Greg James Community Show. This is the Check, the Conscious Check with Christy Henry. We invite you to continue to tune in, listen live. If you tuned in online, that's great. Go to our Facebook page on Hallelujah 95.3 FM, and you can get the live stream. But we look forward to continuing the conversation today with visionary educational leadership, Dr. Benny Bolden, principal of Frank Mims Middle School, and Ms. Carmen Connor, principal of Pineview Elementary School. Y'all stay tuned, and we'll be back in a moment. Listen, we want to look at some of these comments in the comment section. Hold on, I'm extremely intrigued. Let's see what y'all saying. Put down. What y'all saying? Okay. Hey, Miss Verna. Hey, Auntie. How you doing? Oh yes. Hey, Miss Lorena. Yes, two of the best principals in Florida. I concur. Yes, please, y'all tag, share, get your people on, ask your questions. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Worthy conversation. We look forward to hearing and also taking the call to action of how we sustain this improvement and this achievement. And please post your questions as we're talking. We'll try to read them and try to make sure that we're identifying as well as respecting the input that you're putting online. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. All right. All right, welcome back. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to the Conscious Check with Christy Henry at the Greg James Community Show. We are so excited. Me and my esteemed co-host, Lil Man. I won't call by his government name because hot fish today. Today, hot fish. All right. Tomorrow, who knows? All right. We'll figure it out. Listen, Lil Man, we have some pretty heavy folks here today on the show. Yeah. Because we have a pretty heavy conversation to have.
Oh, so we can get right down to it.
Right on down to it.
They have to give up some secrets today. And hopefully those secrets can be shared with those other educators. And we're going to find out if these other educators need to get on the same platform these two are on.
Well, see, the thing I love about Ms. Carmen Connors and Dr. Benny L. Bolden is that they're not hoarders of opportunity. They're not hoarders of intellectual capability. They want to get out because they understand, like we understand, that achievement is collaborative, right? It's not competitive. And I think that's where we've lost it, right? When we look at the way investment has happened in our schools over the years, it's almost as if they've been cultivating this really regressive mindset of competition when we need to cultivate excellence everywhere because we need our children to be around excellence. But they can't be around excellence if your child ain't experiencing excellence, right?
Yep.
And we have the wrong flip. So they have the right spirit, they have the right mindset. And I like to welcome Miss Carmen Connors and hopefully soon Dr. Carmen Connors, because I feel like she already right there. Right, just sometimes you got to do the paperwork, but Pineview Elementary School.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome here to the show. We are so proud. We're so proud of you. We are so proud. This is a local raised Leon County Schools product who have come through the ranks and has personally experienced educational attainment here, and now is a cultivator and a champion of educational attainment for the next generation. And I mean, that is so big. That's so big. I hope I ain't made you smile too hard. But that's so big.
Stop.
It is.
Talk about
Oh, that is so funny.
But thank you so much for having me here. And I love our opportunity to talk about Pineview Elementary School. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And, of course, to balance this out, this excellent, smorgasbord out, we have Dr. Benny Bolden, who I've known for a very long time. And it's almost crazy to see what I knew back then and what I know now.
You know me.
That ain't their business. That ain't their business. That ain't, but I'm just saying, excellence, curation, even back then, a service heart, even back then. I mean, just was in training for this, for what you're doing right now. And we are just so proud of the work you've done at our Frank Nims Middle School. See, he had to put the aura back in Nims Middle School. Y'all don't understand what that means. Sir, Nims was a man.
right.
Okay, he was a huge figure in this community.
Put that respect back on his name.
Put that R back on them, right? And let's talk about that. You're both leaders of Legacy Southside School, Pineview, aka Southwest, right? Elementary school. Our Frank Nims School, segregated Black school. That's where you had to go, right? You had to go to Nims, right? Wasn't no family DRS before. You had to go to Nims, right?
Right.
Talk about, first of all, the weight of leadership of a historic neighborhood school. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, I can start there. I actually live in the neighborhood of my school. I can see the front of my front yard and my backyard. I can see my school, which is a beautiful thing. We've lived there for 22 years. So being a part of that community and then being a part of what makes the change in the community with education is like a beautiful circle, being a Leon County resident. So the history of our school, it started out as Southwest Elementary School. And I think I just found this out in 1966. The school was then changed to 1968, the school name changed from Southwest to Pineview Elementary School. And it was a contest amongst the students where they chose the name of the school.
Oh, that is dope.
So on our school's property, there are many pine trees. So I guess there was a student or two that said, oh, Pineview Elementary, because that's what they saw. So the beautiful part is our school started off as a community school for our people. And now it is still the same thing, but now we got a little extra twist on it. So it feels incredible, but it feels even more incredible to be a part of what the change is to affect the community. And then it goes from our school to our Frank Nims.
That's right.
And then it goes from there to Rickard. So it's a beautiful thing to be a part of the legacy, but I've lived it. And
Yes.
it's been a wonderful thing. Also, I was a student at our Frank Nims as a 6th grader for one school year.
Mm.
And then to see it come full circle.
Yeah.
So I too, first and foremost, I thank you all for having me on the show, along with my counterpart, Ms. Connor. But I do want to say this as it relates to our school. looking at the historical view text of a context of our school and what people saw as it relates to NIMS and the negative connotation that came along with being an all African American community school in what some refer to as the hood, to now be at the pinnacle of that light and say, yes, we can, in spite of where we are geographical, located in our schools, to now be a B, and to being fed students from somebody who I think the world of, and she had moved that school from a C to an A. All things considered, when you look at our kids, they should not be performing at this level. At least that's what the people say.
That's what they say.
And then it takes people like her and I, and Delshana Jackson, to say, I don't care where they live at, they can read, they can write, they can achieve. One of the most difficult parts of taking over that school is walking in the door, knowing the acronym NIMS, which they called it, and excuse my French, Negroes in middle school. And when it was fundamentally hurtful to me. And then you have community leaders that I see today, and there are articles talking about the achievement that we have just made in the South Side. And sometimes we sabotage and hurt our own.
Come on now.
And so the community says, well, that school's still in the hood. That is a present comment today. That even though they're B, but they're still in the hood. Think about what that does for the psyche of a child when they believe that they cannot achieve at a high level because that's what the people in front of them, the adults in front of them, believe that they can't. So in spite of the rhetoric outside, somewhere down the line, Pineview, Bond, and NIMS said, you keep talking and we'll keep working. And so you keep talking, but yet we're going to show you what our students can do. And what's important for you all to understand is my school has a white, Black, Hispanic. We have the largest ESOL population. It's 46 students over there that speak Swahili, speak Arabic and different languages. But yet and still, we bring all of those kids together, some fresh from out of the country, and we're still maintaining academic success. And to do that is to change the psyche of thought process, that they might say we in the hood, but we have to show the world something different. And that's exactly, I say this all the time. At R. Frank NIMS Middle School, we have a point to prove. And we can't prove it by what we say, we have to prove it by what we do.
I think that we got to go back there, right? Because we're talking about schools and run to the community what Bond's grade is as well. What is Bond's elementary school?
They are 3-year B. So now 3 years consecutive B, NIMS a B, and then Pineview Elementary is an A. And what's important for that is when I started at NIMS, all of my feeder pattern schools were F and Ds or Ds, with the exception of, I think, Sable Palm in 2019 was a B. And so now I have 5 schools, Hartsfield, Pineview, Oak Ridge, Bond, and Sable Palm. And the only one of the 5 was Sable Palm that was a B. Everything else was an F and D. And so that was the real struggle. So you have all of those 3, 4s, and 5 grade levels coming out of those schools, coming into NIMS, and yet we're trying to change the community, and all of us was failing. And so it had to take bold leadership to change that dynamic. And so we gave the community a narrative to say, but they are F school, but they're D school. And somewhere down the line, these principals got together and said, we got to stop that today. We got to stop that today.
It's still people out there that expect the South Side of Tallahassee to remain the same.
Yeah.
They really expect it to remain the same. So when something like this comes along, they don't know how to handle it. Only thing they can say is, well, you still in the hood.
I think it's a deep sense of self-actualization, right? And I think that when you're dealing with Maslow's hierarchy of need, you can see that lack coming out of the generation that came out of the F and the D populations, right? Because they had to go through the stigma, right? And so I think now changing the tide, first thing that hits me is that you got feeder schools that are A and B schools. Absolutely. So that means that you got students who have been nursed in a climate of excellence that now are going to be coming to your school to be perpetually and continually exposed to that excellence. How is that going to benefit Rickards when they get to Rickards? You get what I'm saying? So the ecosystem impact is giving me chills, right? Because now you're not having to remediate when they come in,
Absolutely.
right? You're not having to make them. You already have made students coming in that you're continuing to build. And then when they get to the higher ed or the high schools, that ecosystem has to now be explained so that they can triumph and be victorious in those climates. Talk to me about that. Tell the community in terms of, because we don't think about it like that, right? People don't see the interconnectedness of these schools and how important that your school performs well, because now you're sending me a student that will perform well, and then you can send a student that performs well. Can you speak to that? And you can pull in some early childhood pieces to that as well.
Yeah, I feel like our job at elementary school is to set a foundation.
Yes.
And if it's a strong foundation, everybody else can continue to build on that. But amid that, we have many barriers in our schools that other schools don't experience. An example would be for the past 6 years that I've been at Pineview, and I will add, you kind of spoke on it, when I became the principal at Pineview, the school grade was an F. Mm-hmm. So we went from an F to a C, then we went to a B, and we got a new test, so we went to a C with this new testing system, and now we're at an A. But that span from going from an F to an A is about looking at every little piece of what happens along the way until you get to these tested grades. But what happens is at our schools, the barriers that exist. Since I've been there, 50% or more of our students have never gone to school prior to coming to kindergarten. So half of our kindergarten class every single year, those children have never gone to school. So they don't have the foundation of letters and sounds. They don't know how to read. Some of them don't even know their first name. I oftentimes tell this story. They've been at home with grandma and their siblings, and they've been called Strawberry their whole life. And when they come to school and you say, well, Carmen Connor, your car is here, they don't recognize Carmen Connor because she's been called Strawberry her whole life.
Wow.
So not even knowing their first name. Another barrier that we have is that we have students that if it rains outside, they don't come to school.
Absolutely.
A very typical day at our school is on Mondays and Fridays. Those are our greatest days where we have absences. So we got to work with the 3 days in the middle that we get. So not being prepared, not coming to school every day, tardies. And then you talk about the whole child being hungry. We have to make sure that everyone is fed and well, and you had a great night's rest before we can get started. So when you stack up all of that, that's a heavy lift. But our teachers persevere, and that's the greatest part of this story, is that we have the most amazing, dedicated teachers at our school that give above and beyond. So for us, we have to give our kids more time. When they come without having prior schooling, when they come to school maybe 3 days a week, when they come late, we got to work with what we have. And our teachers work with what they have. And it takes time, but over these past 6 years, this is where we are today. But it's all about, for us, building a foundation for our kids so that now they have the tools to be able to decode words and to be able to read fluently. So when they have the tools, everybody's lift becomes a little bit lighter. And then when they go to middle school, we don't have to teach kids letters and sounds because they already learned it when they were in elementary school. So it's a building block. But I think our part, not to take anything away from anybody else, the foundational piece is really, really important.
Yes.
And when you put that foundation at the right age and at the right time in the best way possible, there's nothing that can break that foundation. And that's what I think our part is. So when we set that, we're preparing our kids by the time they get to 3rd grade. They have every tool in their toolbox possible to be the best reader. And now they can read to understand what they're reading. And that builds the momentum. And now if they can read, they can do a math problem. They can learn civics and hit whatever it is because they have the tools that they get in elementary school.
To comment on what you just said, how I know it's true is that at 2, when my daughter was 2, I bought her a Nabi tablet. And that Nabi tablet has 650 learning games in it, starting from 2, going all the way up. So your shapes, your sizes, it took her as on up, but she learned so fast that she only had the Nabi tablet not very long, then she went to a regular tablet. than from a regular tablet to a laptop. That's my youngest and my older daughter. It was leapfrog.
Mhm.
I made sure. I'm not saying there was bad teachers in the world, but I am
That's right.
responsible
That's right.
for making sure that
Mm,
my kids wasn't just gonna be dependent on Miss Johnson teaching her how to read.
mm.
You're gonna learn all this stuff at home. So when you get to school, you calling me and talk about, well, she got in trouble today because she was trying to help another student out. Okay, man, what's wrong with that? I have to talk to my daughter and say, hey, you know, you may be ahead of some of the other kids. So the teacher said, don't talk, don't talk. But it was just naturally in her to want to assist
Right.
her classmate because she knew how to do something.
Mm.
So again, it does start at home.
That's fundamentally important in retrospect to our parents being involved in the education of the young mind. It's only so much teachers can do. I remember a time, I'm an 80s baby, and you would go to the school and the teacher would tell your parents and your mom would just get on you for not doing. Now the child and the parent is yelling at the teacher. Things have changed in this structure, but the first teacher in any child is their parent. And so it has to start at home. You have to be engaged. We just had orientation, and I told our parents, this is a partnership. It's not a dictatorship. We in this together. We got to grow this together. I want to go back to a point that Ms. Connor made, and she's modest. She won't tell you all a lot of this, but she was methodical when she got to that school about pre-K 1, 2.
Yes.
And I remember having conversations with her. And though what she was saying was astonishing to me, you can hear the excitement about her plan and what she was going to do. And she said, when you get this group of kids, it's going to change the game for you later on.
Come on now.
And so not that she was excusing 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, but she knew that foundation core was going to change. And we saw that go from F to an A. And it's those foundational things. But how much better would our Southside community schools be if our parents was involved in this process? If they got involved, we are providing a lot of resources for kids, and we're going to continue to do that. But what if we connect with parents to make sure that they read at night, they hear at night, that they sit down, that they don't have no TV, no cell phone, and just 30 minutes of reading in their home? What can happen with our children and in our community? There's some research out there that says an African-American child reads 1 million less words than its Caucasian counterpart. 1 million less words. And you think about that in terms of their understanding as in-state standardized testing. And so when we get to a word like opportunity and they have never heard that word before, they don't understand what the question is asking because of one word. And so it's important for us to put that information in front of us, and so that we're aiding as a parent, aiding in the responsibility of educating this young mind.
Come on now. And
So I have a question for you.
Mhm.
So how important has the cornerstone been beneficial to these kids across the street from your school?
Well, Cornerstone is a
Corner store.
Corner store?
As
Oh, the
well.
corner store.
Corner, we don't say corner.
Oh, okay, so the corner store.
The corner store, you know what I'm talking about.
The corner store is okay, but the y'all ain't had this in my neighborhood. We had the candy lady,
Right, that's big on.
unsolicited.
Right.
We didn't have the insurance and we didn't open up the store, but the candy lady had the frozen cups that you could flip on the. You don't know nothing about that. But now it's hot outside. You ain't even got no frozen cup. I'm telling you, you had to go outside and play, but the only thing that kept you was that frozen cup. The juice be falling on down the side and licking the arm.
That's where sugar came from.
I'm telling you.
Imagination of diabetes from the Kool-Aid.
And then when you had to wash that sugar down, you got that water valve.
Yeah.
And I said, got that water hose. But you had to wait a second,
Because the hot water,
it'll burn your mouth.
you know what it is.
I'm telling you, you'll burn your mouth.
You pass the hose back to your. I'm telling you. Did you have experience with that? Or you
Miss Thomas knows how to go to the corner store about her necklace like everybody else. Tell you.
Some places process because but well balanced child.
Yeah.
And so the corner store got to play a role to it because we're asking the kid to come learn, read and write and math and things of that nature, but they got Takis for breakfast. And so we got Takis.
I must have missed that.
Takis and things of that nature.
No, it's like Doritos, but worse.
Yeah. Okay, say it says Pepsi, Doritos like Pepsi.
But you've been amazed on these kids go on breakfast, but when they come to sausage and man. And so you wonder why they always sleep, I'm dealing with diabetes so early,
Yeah.
high blood pressure so early. Our parents got to be involved in that process too. Make sure your kids have a balanced meal in the morning.
Right.
That's all part of it. First of all, big time.
Cultural conversation is so important because that's where you get the sustainability, right? If you're changing the educational trajectory of the children in your ward, that's amazing. But culture change shifts, right? When culture is integrated in a way and education is done in a way for parents. And so let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because we got an A school, a B school, B school. We got, 3 years of B, B sustained academic achievement, right? How, because it's still in an area that's minority majority. There's geographic and economic diversity in Southside. People don't talk about that. They don't talk about where the kids are coming from, right? And the mix of how the kids are coming. Pine View, aka Southwest, used to be Southwest, used to pull from Alumni Village and all of those students that came from whose parents were in grad school. So they had a long history of academic achievement and attainment over on that corner. But when they knocked down Alumni Village and the people shifted away, that contingent of student left and the community remained, right? So how do we work with remaining community to build sustained achievement to schools? Because I'm hype about the achievement. I know that it came with blood, sweat, tears, and more blood from the visionary leadership. But what's the path forward, right, with trying to maintain this achievement? Because we know that the economic trajectory of the community is at stake, right? When you talk about the wealth gap and you talk about an eradication of poverty, you do that through sustained attainment through the educational systems in place. That's a huge piece of it. What is that conversation looking like? now?
Oftentimes I was a band director before I became an administrator, and I told them as a band director, the only one that's going to beat you is you.
Come on now.
And so we self-destruct ourselves, especially when there's good happening in our community. How do we connect churches? A Divine Nine. I don't care who you are, what organization you are, partner with those local schools and find out what resources they need. We had a church there today, Great Emmanuel, stopping by. What do you need? Well, we need uniform shirts. We want to make sure that we can still provide that throughout the year. We have resources in partnership with FAMU. They give us deodorant and toothbrushes and toothpaste. I know even over at Pine View, she supports and facilitates a laundromat on campus so that they can, have that. And I think we both was at an event one night and she got a bunch of Tide and Gaines because their kids can go over there, their parents can stop and wash clothes. When something is good happening in our community, support it. Don't kill it because you wasn't a part of it at that time. Don't tear us down. Push us forward so that we can sustain this, because we'll never be able to sustain it without outside resources and support. And what does that look like? That may be, $10 you drop off and say, hey, buy some snacks for the kids in the morning so they can have a Nutri-Grain bar instead of Takis. Whatever it is, partner with those. And I'm looking for a mentor for every student in my school. Why? Because I know when kids have somebody they're accountable to, they will perform better, especially men. A lot of my kids, I'm not saying all, but a lot of my kids is the man in their house. As a sixth grader, they are the man in their house. And so when they come to a school and another man directs them and tell them what they should and should not do, they don't understand that place because they have been the man in their house. But yet they too have to be trained. And so be a part of that process. Be a mentor. Be a resource. Check on kids, check on the community, that community school, and provide resources. That's how we have long-term sustainability.
I think a lot of people, when they don't have kids anymore in the house, they forget about the community. Like your kids are grown, but you're not thinking about the other kids in your community.
Mm.
They moved on to high school, so forget about middle school. I don't have a middle school child anymore. So then you don't want to go support the middle school.
I don't want to date my age, but I'm of the generation when you got in trouble, the whole neighborhood knew. And so you got beat on your way to the house before you got to the house.
And it wasn't no call waiting.
And no.
No clicking over.
Listen,
How they got the news
the
that day?
neighbor yelling at you on your way home because she already heard you got in trouble in school. Now we don't work, we don't gel, we don't connect together as a community, and nobody gonna have us like us. You know, we had that clothing line, for us by us. We need to go back to that motto. You know, how do we stick together? How do we find common ground? You know, the political rhetoric. You know, I hate political season because it divides us on what you think and who you're going for and all of that. And none of that has anything or any place in our schools, and it doesn't help our kids get to read better and things of that nature. So how do we find those common grounds so that we can move our kids in our schools?
And they closed Lindy's. What you think they done for the community?
That might have been a
They
good
closed
move.
Lindy's
We
6
talk
months
about
ago.
we talk about nutrition.
So you like to give
Listen, that's all you had to eat. But
Come on,
I'm
baby.
just saying, we just talked about the
Big
stove.
sales
So having I want to bring definitely Carmen into this conversation because you really did have a vision for creating and crafting through the pre-K and first grade. You in kindergarten, you understood that those would be your second, third, and fourth graders of the future. They would be the one. Can you talk about that strategy and that mindset, just so that people can understand? You ain't just a principal sitting in the school babysitting kids. There is some work and some vision that has to be activated, steps and ecosystem development. It's big. Can you just kind of talk through that?
Yeah, there's some great intention behind it. So how do I describe it? Here's an example. If a typical school, let's just say a Northeast side school, if they devote 100, let's say 90 minutes to 120 minutes of reading instruction, we're going to give more than that because our kids need more time. So just like I was saying earlier, our kids are missing Mondays and Fridays from school, or our kindergartners, half of them have never gone to school before. In order to make up for that time, you have to give more time on our side when it comes to school. But remember, I can't control what happens before school or after school. So I have to use the time wisely that we have at school. So we take advantage of every instructional minute of the day, and we double the time that we give to reading instruction. So our teachers are teaching for probably an hour or more than our counterparts. Math, we give more time. Our teachers stay after school. We have Saturday school. So for a certain group of kids, my assistant principal and I for 5 years straight would get a band from Dr. Bolden's school.
Wow.
Go pick up our kids, bring them to the school, drop them off with the teachers, make them lunch, pick them back up and take them home. We did that for 5 years straight. Our kids need more time. So the point that I'm getting is we have to make it work the best way that we can. And the only thing that we can do is give them more instruction time. So we have to be creative and intentional with everything that we do. So when they're walking from their classroom to the cafeteria, we have to take advantage. What can we practice? Our numbers, our facts when we're in this space and time. That's 10 minutes that, walking to and from, that we can take advantage that they can practice and get what they need. We touch into our resources. One of the greatest community partners that we have a lot, but one that has been consistent and very great is Jacob Chapel Baptist Church. They, for the past 4 years, they have purchased backpacks and school supplies for every student in the school. That takes the lift off of the parents. The parents don't have to think about purchasing anything. It's all there. They just show up at orientation and everything is there. Think about the fact that they don't have to worry about those things, and kids can just be kids, get their backpacks and supplies and do what we ask them to do. So it's the community connections that are really, and it is literally the glue that holds us together. Without their support, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. Without the community and being collaborative with our peers, with our feeder patterns, or even with Bond or Sable Prom and Oak Ridge, we collectively are a community. And when we talk to each other and you're doing something great, we can use that idea and it comes over to our school. So my point is, putting all of those pieces together makes schools like ours succeed. But what makes it sustainable is that it's not a secret sauce. It is intention. It is methodical steps to approach our kids and their learning so that it sticks and that it works and it builds over time. That's how we do
Do you have other schools reach out to you guys to ask you how you did it, or I'm interested in getting my school from a D or a C to an A? Do you have that interest? Is that interest shown?
it. Yeah.
Because if it's not, then that's also a problem.
Yeah, that has happened. Recently, our school received an award this past summer called Exceeding Expectations. And we have exceeded the expectations of all schools in the state of Florida. So out of 3,400 schools, we were in the top 35 schools, as well as Bond Elementary. And thank you much. And so we were able to present our best practices in Orlando in June, how we do what we do in our schools. And in that moment, I don't know what word I want to use, but it shocked me that everybody didn't do the same thing that we do. Like, well, don't you do this and don't you provide these interventions? Everybody doesn't do that. And you don't know what you don't know. And from that, people are asking, so I heard you say this, how do you do it? Because I want to do it at my school. So that has opened up the door to sharing. But now people are asking, so what is it that you're doing to have those learning gains in math? Like, what are you doing to have those drastic gains in ELA and reading? So yes, people are
I
asking.
believe children genuinely want to learn.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I believe they genuinely get excited about learning. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if they're not learning here, this is the thing that I'm trying to calm myself down here. If they're not learning here, they're learning
In the streets.
somewhere else because they are hardwired at this level of life to learn. They are actively learning, and as I'm listening to you all, and I want our listening audience to hear this. When we talk about intersectionality of issues, when we talk about the school to prison pipeline, when we talk about economic opportunity, economic viability, work skills development that could bridge into career paths and opportunity paths for later on in life, they are mitigating literally issues and obstacles at this stage of the educational development of their children and giving them the absolute opportunity to be able to take advantage of middle school and high school development. Because most of our kids, if we look at the past, they've been lost in elementary school.
Mhm.
They've been lost in the stigma associated with the F and the D mindset. Now you have a whole generation of children that are exposed to excellence. And now that excellence is transcribed and recorded upon the conscience. So now they have to reach up for more excellence, right? And so when they leave elementary school, we now have reading grades that aren't dictating that this person is going to be going to the. I want our audience to understand what's happening. It's not just about, oh, yah, rah, rah, my school is A, my school is the B. They are tearing down and doing warfare
Absolutely.
for futures in these schools. And I think it's important that's understood. Because when we look at the rate that people are planning prisons, planning incarcerated facilities, they were doing it based upon testing in elementary school. And so now that you have elementary schools performing, not only that, they're feeding excellence into middle schools with the trajectory of them feeding excellence into high schools. And now with the way that the state and our communities are looking at trade skills development, that starts early as what? 14, 15, 16 years old. So now we got kids earning money the right way and getting the skills. They doing warfare, y'all. They doing warfare. This is warfare for the future. This is so much bigger than just a school grade.
I say hot fish to all the schools. Every school once a month we need to have a fish fry. Every school.
Don't play.
We already talked
for that hot fish.
we already talked about it.
Okay. Listen, I mean, and so when we talk about that, yes, the mindset is still in the hood. Talk about for us how that cultural, and it's not negative. We love our culture. There are a lot of positive things associated with our culture, but poverty and a lot of different, things that we haven't had infringes upon the kids' abilities to perform. So I know you said parental engagement, but how? How does a parent have the confidence to know that they can come in the doorway and be engaged? How do they know that they're not going to be judged when they come into the realm of the school system to be engaged? How are they being plugged by the schools? What are the vehicles for that?
So one of the main things, especially when you deal with Title I schools, they look at parent involvement. That is a big piece. And then, there's oftentimes conversation lack thereof.
Okay.
So we provide opportunities for parents to want to come and be a part. We have that center on our campus where parents can come if they want to learn some resources. I open the door for all of our parents. If they want to come in and see Strawberry, since we're going to go with that name, if they want to see their child, they want to see Benny Bolden in class, they just want to pop up or just stop by the school. I live by the motto, if you keep the house clean, you don't have to run when company comes. And so if you want to see how your child is learning and being involved every day, come by, stop by and walk in that classroom, be a part of that resource. Look at what we're doing. A lot of what we're doing now in our district with the one-to-one devices and Canvas, a lot of the work and materials, tutorials are all online. Sit down with your child and go through that process. And if you don't know, my teachers are willing to open the door to provide an opportunity to teach the parents on how to teach the child. A lot of our parents in our community did not pass high school or did not go or got a GED, but that don't mean you can't help us in this process. So let us teach you how. In the 7 years I've served, this is my 7th year at NIMS. On certain Saturdays, we provide opportunities for parents to come so that we can teach you how to serve your child. In addition to, I had Career Source come out to the campus where during the school day, we let the parents come and interview for a job. Because if you didn't have that, we're doing whatever we can in our community to make those connections. And that's just at NIMS. You can think about what Sable Palm is doing, what Oak Ridge is doing, what Bond is doing, what Pineview is doing to actively engage parents. There was this historical thing that I saw about Quincy Jones, and it says that for the first 8 to 10 years of his life, he wanted to be a gangster because that's all he saw. Well, the idea for us is to give our kids a different image so that they can excel. When you talk about that prison, the pipeline, it was building more prisons than schools at one point in time. And the idea of that is because of those test scores. But also, what were they seeing in that situation? What were they seeing in that community? I can make more money on the streets than I can, going to get an education or going to college. And so now we got to give them a different image. That's why we're trying to change the image of our schools. That's why we're trying to push the academic acceleration, because if they can leave Pineview with a level of success, then they come to me wanting and biting at the bits for that same level of success. And then they'll leave me and go to Rickards. And then trying to get them to be actively engaged in that process where they are getting their high school credits before they even leave middle school, so that they can be in dual enrollment by their sophomore year, and Leon County schools pay for their college. They can graduate with their AA degree before they even get their high school diploma. We got to put them on a different path. Jesus did what he could, and he couldn't save them all. But if I can just get to one, then my living is not in vain. And that's what we do every day, is try to reach the one so that we can get them on a different trajectory. And if I can get them from Pineview and Bond and then bring them to NIMS, I oftentimes say I wish NIMS was a 6 through 12 school, because I get scared when my babies leave me. And I can tell you, rest assured, I get a phone call from Miss Connor that says, this one right here, y'all better not play over. This one right here. And then she'll leave her campus and show up on our campus to make sure that those kids that she know that she got to give that special attention to. And she walk on campus, and you'll be amazed on the connections that was made even there, that they still exist even on my campus. They would run to her in the hallway, and they still have a point to prove even to her, because they gave her their word that they will be successful.
That's right.
And if we can continue that from home to school to school, the prison's going to be empty soon.
Come on now.
Stay on board and get on board.
That's right. So, and let me just give you some real fast facts. And first, Connor, you can react to this. There's research, obviously, that substantiates this. But also what got me was, according to the Bush Center, improving school achievement to the level of the top performing state could generate 76 trillion in economic benefits for the entire country. The Atlantic, this is a newspaper, suggests that even smaller improvements could have a significant impact, and that the economic growth would likely outweigh the cost of education itself. Can you speak to that? Because people always talk about, oh, we're spending this on schools and Title I get all this money and this and that and the other. Can you talk to people about when we deal with this from an investment perspective? And Leon County Schools is great in terms of support and investment, but talk about what people should think about when they think about investing in their schools and how that sets you on a trajectory of success.
The return that you get on that investment. I wanted to tell a story, and I
Tell us.
hope I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
My students mean everything to me. And our school motto is pioneer where potential is power. I believe that every kid on our campus has the potential to be something great. And the time and effort that we put into our kids is priceless when you think about all of the resources that we put into our kids. But when it doesn't work out quite the way I want it to, I call Benny. And I called Benny and said, hey, I need you to come over here and talk to my fifth graders and come over here and motivate them to do their best on this test. So when it all comes out, they know that they have a safe place to land. And it's literally a phone call. He gets in his car and he comes over. That's an investment. One time, Benny and I were together. My assistant principal wasn't at work on this particular day. He was out sick. And I had a kid that refused to come to school. The grandmother called me and said, Ms. Brown, I can't get this kid to get up to come to school. And I said, I'm like, well, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, what can I do? She was like, I just need you to come get him. She believed in me enough that I would come and get him out of the bed. So I didn't want to go to this house by myself. So I called Benny and I said, I need you to ride with me. I picked Benny up, we go to this house. Benny talks to this little boy, and the reason why he didn't want to come to school that day is because he walks. He walks about probably half a mile. He had outgrown his shoe.
Come on now.
He had outgrown his shoe. Now he was kind of, he was too cool for school and everything. He really didn't want to talk. He was just angry on this day. Benny talked to him and found out the reason why he really didn't want to come to school is he didn't want to walk. Because his feet hurt in his shoe.
Exactly. That should never be done.
But it did. But again, that's another piece of impact. And the return is he came to school.
Yes.
He came to school. He sat in the back of my car and read a book the whole time. As a matter of fact, that same day he went to another house and he said, well, this or let's do somebody else out there.
He took that on tour.
Yes. The point that I'm making, the return is priceless. If we can get a kid to understand that we care about them and we care about their success, it takes off by itself. They just need to know that they have the potential and they have the power to be whatever they want to be. But when they see that, when they see the community getting involved and buying the backpacks and doing the haircuts and coming in during lunchtime and being mentors, the return is priceless. So then we get this kid that knows how to say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. They're
Yes.
They listen and follow instruction, and they want to be the best that they can be. They become a member of our society.
Yes.
And then the cycle changes. And that's the piece that I think, that's the most powerful piece I think that we have. Yeah, we're going to teach them how to do aspects. We got that, but we build on the person that's at the school, which is priceless to me.
I think our school district is supremely and sublimely blessed to have the type of cultural competency at leadership levels that it has, because that right there ain't nothing but just cultural, ride or die cultural competency, right? That's all that is right there. And I mean, you could hide behind the desk and behind the process and behind the standards. You could do that and be just as well. But you have vision for every life and every soul in your school. You have vision for your staff. You have vision for, and to hear the humility of, okay, I can't figure this out, but let me tag my brother that knows. That's what we need to move forward. That's what we need to be taught again.
You know, I think the principal has changed over the years. I can't honestly sitting here tell you what my principal name was in elementary. I don't even know. And so at that particular time, you could steal away, you could hide, you could not be involved. But I think that the job itself have evolved and endorsed into something else. That now we have to be engaging. We can't be the individual that sits behind the desk. They have to see you. You know, I'm in front of the school in the mornings. I'm in front of the school in the afternoon. I know if I need something, I can call down the street. And then there's thought partners that is, and this is a lonely role being a principal. It's not many of us out there. And so you don't have too many people you can call.
Mhm.
And then when you have principals, in other words, my school on the south side, and while I respect my friends on the north side, they don't really quite understand the gravitas of what we deal with on the south side.
You said gravitas.
And so I have to call some of my like partners, and I can pick up the phone and call Carmen Connor and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And she said, well, what if you do it like this? It is in that thought process that engagement happened. And so that now, even though that child was not even mine, he's looking forward to coming to NIMS, coming out of her school, because I have taken time out of my day, leave my school to come to his house. And I'm not talking about at the door. We was in the house, in the room.
In the house.
Somebody say come in.
At this point, give me a bowl of cereal.
Come on.
Because we in the house. You know,
Cornflakes,
I'm telling you.
regular.
But yet he walks away saying somebody cares about me and cared enough about me. And she didn't just come with somebody from high school. She came with somebody because he had aspirations to be in sports and all of these things. And so now we're giving him something to look forward to.
Yes.
And then she talked about how he sat in the back seat, which he did, and read a book all the way to the school, all because of somebody there to inspire them. The role of principal looked different today.
Yes.
And so we have to get out of our four walls. It's almost like the church at one point in time. We shut up in our buildings. Well, that day has gone. We got to reach out and touch children, families, sisters, brothers, that whole, because it's going to take that active engagement in order to move a school with long-term sustainability.
Woo, listen, we done ran out of time. But listen, I'm telling you, if you have tuned in today, if you didn't tune in for nothing other than to hear him say gravitas other than gravity, that would have blessed your soul. Listen, I would just want to give an opportunity to just give you all just say some closing words today. Give our community a call to action, because we're doing well, but we need to keep doing well. What is it that you need the community to understand that the schools need from us so that we can get to work alongside you as you facilitate this excellence and this achievement at our schools?
Well, I will start with what I've learned in this is my 7th year as well. And what I've learned over the past 6 years is that if the community knows what you need, they're willing to give it. They just need to know. And through that, I just started asking. And every time I ask, I've never received a no. So I'm going to put out there, we continue to ask for volunteers to come into our schools and just eat lunch with our kids once a month at Pine View. That's a 10-time opportunity. You come once a month to eat with a kid. That kid has their personal cheerleader that they can look forward to every month. And oftentimes our volunteers come even more. But all we're asking for is you to come in 10 times throughout a school year, eat lunch for 30 minutes with the student to make them feel special. That's easy. And most of us have a lunch break that we can all do that. Another thing I would ask is that being present and being willing to serve in schools and to be that person, the $10, 10,000 too. We take big bucks too. But being willing to give to schools, because our teachers they work tirelessly. They give their all. And sometimes a luncheon and to give them something special at the end of a hard day means the world. It's one of those priceless things. So being available to give and serve to our teachers it would be a really big deal. But if there was something else I would say, it's just if you are connected to an educator, or if you are in a community where there's schools, just reach out to see how you might be of assistance. You just never know what your connection might be that could help us. And there are many.
All right, wonderful.
And in closing, I do want to just, real quick, there's a comment about, I was told, Ms. Grissom said she was told she had to wait 24-hour notice, in order to visit a classroom.
Right.
Some principals have different expectations, and I understand that. But if you, as parents out there, the NIM students, call, let us know, and we'll make sure you get in the classroom. I'm pretty sure all of those principals on that south side will actively engage the idea of parents coming and be a part of that. What do we need? What is the ask today? I just put out a campaign. I told my students last year that if we get that beat, we was going to shut down the city right there on Orange Avenue and have our own personal parade like Florida Homecoming or Florida State Homecoming. And so on September 10th, we're doing a community parade, and that's going to include NIMS Middle School, Pineview Elementary, and Bond Elementary. And the ask was $10,000. I want to shut the city down and let everybody know that these three schools have just done something very monumental. And you can tell me how much you love us and thank us and all of that other stuff. Daryl Jones says you can tell people's by their checkbooks, by their checkbooks. Well, here is a priority. Here's an opportunity where you can get involved. To date, I think we got about $3,500 to put that out.
Okay.
And so I want you to rally behind me. I want you to call Florida State Band. I don't want to just have Florida in and March 100. And why not Florida State support the South Side too? I want Florida State Band. I want FAMU Band. I want Ricketts and Garvey to be a part of that. We're going to shut down the city, that street, and we're going to celebrate these kids. Bounce houses, Kona Ice is coming out. All you can eat Kona Ice. We need to celebrate these kids in a big way from Pineview, Bond, and NIMS. This is going to be the biggest celebration of its kind because it's never happened before. The trifecta. I said this in the newspaper the other day. Many are called, but this was a generation that was chosen for this assignment, and we've gotten it done. So now partner with us. Make sure that we can celebrate these kids, that they know that they have a community behind them that's going to support them. You ask me, how can you give? Write a check to R. Frank NIMS Middle School and put on their principal discretion, because this celebration is not just about NIMS. It is a community celebration that says, though you counted us out, we're going to show you what we're capable of doing.
Or cash out. With Chime.
No, I can't do Cash App. That's illegal.
You can't do Cash App.
I know my boss is probably listening, so sorry, Superintendent.
Go get 10.
So we need 65.
You don't get it. You don't get it. We're gonna wrap up today because we are way over our time, but we had to get them. We had to hear this. But I thank you all for listening. We have a presentation that will be given. If you're looking online, you see Pastor Greg James here with a certificate of appreciation for Principal Connor and Dr. Bolden and their attainment, achievement, and commitment to our schools. We appreciate y'all. We are grateful for your visionary leadership and for your heart and your help that your staff and everyone has given to bring this achievement to pass. We're going to wrap up today. Listen, you've already heard it. Mentors, volunteers, and some change over at Pineview Elementary School. We need to raise this $10,000 for this community celebration at NIMS, but also we're gonna stay tuned to make sure we're supporting the needs of our students. Y'all, these are awesome times in Tallahassee, Southside and Tallahassee, period. And we need to get in support of the visionaries that are leading our children, because they are breaking cycles, they are breaking chains. And I know it and I see it and I feel it. And so we are grateful for you tuning in today. My co-host, Lil Man, here today. Hot fish, hot
He
grease.
said we got 3,500. Let's just act like we got 0.
Absolutely. We'll take you home.
Let's
Oh.
Let's go. And Pastor James, would you like to make a comment before we close out?
Before we close out, and basically we're over time, so we know our influence is going to be adding up. But certainly want to take a moment to say to Dr. Bolden and Ms. Connor, thank you so much. As you all know, we celebrated 8 years at our Tallahassee Leadership Prayer Breakfast, and these two amazing leaders led our prayer breakfast as our co-hosts, and they did an amazing job. And I never got the moment to present to all 15,000 of our listeners to give to them what they've done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So Dr. Bolden, Saunders, thank you all so much. Hey, listen, we're definitely never out of word. James Community Show, the conscious chick, little man, and certainly two of our leading voices
Leading.
in the educational community. Thank you so much. We're going to definitely do what we need to do to help get that 10,000. We'll probably dedicate a show to it and get some of our listeners to donate, and we'll get it right done. With that being said, Christine,
Yeah,
we got to go cut the invoice.
we out. But thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we will make sure to tune in every Wednesday for the Greg James Community Show, 2 p.m. And we will keep y'all posted tonight at Fairground, tomorrow at the Fairground.
I fish.
Fish with Commissioner Proctor and the community
And
show.
MAAC Banquet Solar.
CB Baby out. So listen, let's keep it moving, and most importantly, let's keep supporting and loving one another. We out. Y'all have a wonderful, productive rest of your week. So much for tuning in. Big up. Thank y'all for your comments. Thank y'all for your input. Listen, we need your support. We got to raise 10 grand. I would like to raise 15 additional so these schools can have some resources past the parade to work with. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. We'll get that set up with the Foundation for Leon County Schools. We'll be sending out that call to action for contributions. Listen, this is the time. This is the time, okay? Let's go ahead and get behind our leaders, get behind our school. Most importantly, we know what we're doing is we're getting behind our children. So we thank y'all so much. We commit to warfare. We commit to warfare. We commit to warfare. Let's make this happen and let the generations know that their community was behind them and the Spirit of the Lord is leading us in this time. Be blessed. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you. This was great. Have a good day.